I've been using this camera for a month now, and it didn't replace anything I thought it would. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. This isn't really a review, it's me figuring out where the Nikon ZR actually fits in my kit, after real shoots, real edits, and actually living with the files. And by the end of this, you'll know whether it makes sense in your kit, or why it probably doesn't. The Nikon ZR really needs no introduction at this point. We all know it shoots incredible red RAW video. This isn't really about specs. It's about where this camera actually earns a spot in my kit, if it stays in my kit, and the 3 use cases where I think it makes sense to own one, and 2 use cases where it doesn't. I try to be very intentional with how I build my kit. Everything has a purpose, even if that purpose is just that I enjoy shooting with it. My main camera is the Leica SL2S. Photo, video, personal, professional, it does it all for me. It's still the most fun digital camera that I own. Then there's the Leica M6. That's all things film for me, street photography, personal moments, travel. It's almost always loaded and almost always has black and white film in it. Then before the ZR, my most recent addition was the Lumix S9. That's been my social media content workhorse. Small, light, great stabilization, great autofocus, open gate, easy to film myself with. There was one thing I really wanted the ZR to replace, and it didn't. About a month in, there are things about this camera that I absolutely love. Obviously, the red RAW is phenomenal. The 4-inch touchscreen monitor has completely ruined other flip-out screens for me. It's massive, and it needs to be, because navigating this menu system without it would be painful. Autofocus has been excellent, no jerky movements, no constant hunting, just smooth focus that locks onto the eyes. Presentation mode makes this camera perfect for talking heads and content creation, but there's one major issue that stops me from using it that way, for now. If this kind of real-world breakdown is helpful for you, please like and subscribe for more videos. The magnification rocker is one of the best physical controls they added. Being able to punch in with stabilized magnification while manually focusing is a joy to use to catch critical focus. The hyper-compressed preview file for Red RAW is genius. Being able to see what a clip actually is in Finder sounds small, but it's completely changed what working with Red RAW footage looks like. Size and weight are another huge win. It's barely bigger than my M6, which means it actually fits into my everyday bag. The Z-mount also makes this one of the most adaptable cameras I own. I've mostly adapted Leica M and R glass, but knowing Sony E-mount lenses are an option definitely opens up the possibilities. I loved all of this. Then I started using it on real shoots. And this is where I think a lot of people are going to feel conflicted about this camera, because on paper, it feels like it should replace a lot of things. In reality, it replaces something very specific, and this is where things get a little complicated. The most obvious issue is file size. Red files are big. If you aren't already set up for RAW video, storage becomes another major expense very quickly. I've been shooting RAW video for years, so my infrastructure already kind of exists, but this is absolutely something you need to consider. This wouldn't be as big of a deal if you could choose Red RAW low quality or the other codecs weren't so aggressively processed. The in-camera noise reduction basically nukes the footage. The menu system is another major pain point. You get an insane amount of control, which is good, but it comes at the cost of usability. It actually takes real mental effort to make basic changes, which feels crazy. And for a camera that's clearly video first, it's wild that under the pencil icon, pages A through E are all photo settings, and page F has to carry all the video options. It's just unnecessarily convoluted. Ergonomically, it's okay, but it really needs a grip. On the 35-1.4, the balance has been good, but I've been shooting a lot with the Nikon 70-200 and the balance is rough. My right hand is like perpetually sore since I've bought this camera. The micro SD card slot is another mess. Before firmware 1.1, I had photos going into the micro SD and video going to the CF Express Type B. Removing the micro SD meant unloading the entire battery door every single time. And dual card slots are only as good as the slowest card in the workflow. So for me, this still functions like a single card slot camera. I expected this camera to replace my Lumix S9 as my social content workhorse and also sit comfortably next to the Komodos I use at work. After a month, I realized it only does one of those things. To answer that, you have to understand who this camera was made for. The ZR thrives in 3 specific situations, and there are 2 types of people it absolutely isn't for. First, it thrives if you already shoot on red cameras and need a B or a C camera. Second, if you shoot run and gun, but still need professional footage without building out a big rig. And third, if you film live events and need multiple cameras capturing red raw video. I do all 3 of those things. If you don't see yourself in at least one of those scenarios, this probably isn't your camera. If this camera only fits in your workflow once or twice a year, you should probably just rent it, because it's super cheap to rent. This isn't really a gateway camera. I know the price makes it seem like anybody can jump into it, but raw video isn't really something you casually step into. It changes how you shoot, how you store, how you edit, how you deliver, and if you're not ready for that commitment, this camera will feel heavy to use and will probably collect dust on a shelf before you sell it. I think a lot of people are going to love this camera and still sell it. So at work, we shoot on red Komodos. The ZR makes a perfect C camera. I film a lot of documentary style videos. We call them Got It Work videos. We usually shoot A-roll with 2 Komodos. Being able to add ZRs into that mix gives us more angles without breaking the workflow. And historically, I've used Lumix cameras for B-roll. The problem is the footage never perfectly matched. And those shoots are fast, changing light, changing environments, and not having red raw was a real pain, and building out a red Komodo for these run and gun style shoots was kind of a pain as well. But that problem is gone now. And this is where the ZR stops being just exciting and starts being really reliable on professional shoots. I also shoot a lot of events at work. The photo capabilities of the ZR mean I can shoot photo and video with one camera. Before, if I wanted raw video, I needed a separate video body. Now it's all in one. So now at events, I can jump from photo to video with just a switch of the switch. So if you are a hybrid shooter that needs raw video, this is huge. We also do a lot of live events, music videos, highlights. Setting up 7 or 8 Komodos is expensive and can be kind of impractical. I don't feel like the average person or volunteer can just step into grabbing a Komodo, but we have a shoot coming up with 6 ZRs alongside 2 Komodos. That completely changes what prep, workflow, and shooting looks like. So the 2 situations that this camera is not for you is if you're filming social media content and don't need red raw. And it's definitely not for you if you don't have the infrastructure to store and work with raw video. This camera will definitely get more people into red raw, but a lot of them will be frustrated by what it demands from their workflow. There's been a lot of speculation online and hopes for firmwares that will come out and fix this camera, but I never buy a camera for what it might become. I buy it for what it can do today. If you can't live with this camera exactly as it is right now, the future firmware may or may not come. And if you can live with it today, then future updates are just extra bonuses. Again, this camera blows every other consumer camera out of the water when it comes to video specs. Will this camera stay in my kit? Absolutely. What it offers for my work is completely worth it, and I'm hopeful future firmware updates will address some of these issues, especially around the H.265. But the real question is, what role would this camera play in your kit? What would it actually replace, and what would it force you to change in your workflow? Let me know in the comments. I try to get back to as many of you as I can. Thanks so much for watching. If this video was helpful, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.